In section 1.1, they are under the assumption that you have already completed and successfully done so Algebra 2. So you have to know that the name, equation, and graph of the basic functions that we talked about when I gave you your syllabus. There are 4 homework questions that require you to match those up. The next thing we talk about is a function. So underneath this, you have f of x is equal to y. That is your function notation that you're going to have to use. In order to determine if a graph is a function, we will use the vertical line test. So what that says is that if I take that vertical line, and we'll draw it in red, if I take that vertical line and I drag it across through here, it never crosses more than one point at one time in the x direction. So this one is a function. Now, an example of something that's not a function would be a circle, for example. So if I take that vertical line, then it's going to hit here and here at the exact same time. So that means that your domain value is repeated, and that would not be a function. So again, another way to write that is that no x value is repeated. So when you look at f of x is equal to y, if you had, for example, f of 4 is equal to 6, then that means when x is the value 4, then y is the value 6. So another way that that could be written is if you have, let me switch this back to the other, if f of x is equal to 6, okay, that's this 6, then x has to be found, and in our case, x would be equal to the number 4 because it comes from right there. So you can do those in both ways. You do have a couple of questions on your homework that do that. So be sure to refer back to this. I have an example underneath. If I give you this table where we have 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, and 3, 4. These are ordered pair points. Now they can give you these as a table, or they could also give it to you as a graph. So if you have a graph, you need to be looking at ordered pair points. So for this first one, we have f of x is equal to y. So y is what we're trying to find. And I'm told that my x value is equal to 1. Well, if my x value is 1, what's my y value? That's going to be the number 2. So that would be the answer that you would type in on your homework. Okay, so then at the bottom we have f of x is equal to 3. So that's still f of x is equal to y. Now it just means that I know what my y value is. So when my y value is equal to 3, then what does that mean I'm trying to find? Well, I'm trying to find what the x is. So if I'm looking at a y value of 3, then my x value is going to be the number 2 again. Not because 2 is the answer to everything, but because in this case my x value is equal to 2 if my y value is equal to 3, because that ordered pair point is the ordered pair point 2, 3. A new concept in this section that you'll talk about is one-to-one. This means that a graph will pass both the vertical line test and the horizontal line test. So if I was to draw red vertical lines, it never hits more than once at one time. And then if I go back and I say, well, okay, I'm trying to ask if it's one-to-one, not if it's a function. So then I have to check these horizontal lines, and it never hits that more than once at the same time. So this one is a one-to-one function. Another way to say that is that every x is paired with exactly one y value. All right, so you're going to be expected in this homework to do a few things that are... So the way we're going to use functions is to take things like this, all right? You may have one where, and I'm going to kind of push this over to the right and do it over here. Let's say that I am asking you just to find f of, let's do 0. So what that means is I'm going to take this number, and I'm going to, because it's in that location right now, and I'm going to plug that in where this x is. So that's going to be 0, and then the squared is still there. And then I'm going to put it also in where that x is. So I have 2 times 0, and then I still have that plus 1 on the end, so you can't forget it. And when I do that using order of operations, everything boils down to the number 1. So that would be the answer that I put in. So you may just have a number that you have to put in. So what would happen if I did f of the letter D?
okay? D is a variable, but I still plug it in the same way. So it is still in that location where the x is in this original. So I'm still going to plug it in everywhere I see an x. So this would be d squared plus 2 times d, and then I would add 1. And there's nothing that can be combined there, so this would be what you would type in on your homework. So they can get more complicated, all right? We have to do 2 different function values here, okay? So we have, this is -3 is what I'm plugging in. I have to square that. Then I have plus 2, and I'm going to multiply by -3, and then I'm going to add 1. Now, all of that is this. So then I have this plus sign right here, okay? So we're going to put a plus sign here. And now I have to go back and I have to do the f of 1, all right? So the rest of this is f of 1. So everything to the right of that will be what I do if I substitute a 1 in. So for f of -3, okay, that's going to be this part. F of 1 will be past that plus sign because that's what's in the center. That is this plus sign, so those are in the exact same location. So when I plug a 1 in, I'm going to have 1, and then I'm going to square it. Then I have plus 2 times 1, and then I'm going to add 1. So then we do order of operations. So I have -3 times -3 gives me 9. Then I've got 2 times -3 is -6, and then I'm going to add 1. Then I have my plus sign again. Then I have 1 plus 2 plus 1. So I have 9 minus 6 is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is going to be my answer for this one. Now, we're going to use that exact same function, but this time we are going to be doing f of -3, and this time we don't have an addition sign, we have a subtraction sign, okay? And this makes things very different. So we come down here and we're going to start substituting this in. So we have an equal sign, we have -3, and we're going to square it. Then we have plus 2 times -3, and then add the 1. And here's where it changes, because this is the negative sign that is in the exact same location as this one. So anytime you have a subtraction sign, you want to open a parenthesis, because what that means is you're going to subtract everything beyond that. So additionally, we have to do f of 1, so we're plugging that in. So we have 1, and we're going to square it, plus 2 times 1, we substitute that in, then we add 1. So here we've got the same situation as we did last time. We have -3 times -3 is 9, 2 times -3 is -6, and then we add 1. And then we have a subtraction, and we do what's in the parentheses. So 1 squared is 1 plus 2 plus 1. So that's going to give me a subtraction of 4. So 9 minus 6 gives me gives me 3, plus 1 is 4. So this is 4 minus 4. And this time we will end up with the value of 0.
So in order to use the function notation, what it expects you to remember from Algebra 1 and 2 is that when you have f of x is equal to, and then you will have some expression beyond it, if I give you a value for x, then it has to go in everywhere you see an x. So for example, if I gave you f of 0, then you want to be able to take that x value and you're going to substitute that in everywhere you see an x. So then we have those 2 substitutions here and here. And then we just have the order of operations in order to finish the question. So f of 0, I keep writing that as I go down. So this is 0 plus 0 plus 1. So then f of 0 is equal to the number 1. Now what that means for us is that the ordered pair point 0, 1 is on the graph. So these can get more complicated. So the way they can get more complicated is if you have more that you have to substitute in. So for example, or if you have something that is not numeric. So you could have f of m, okay? So just because m is not a number doesn't mean you do anything any different. It goes in everywhere you see an x. And that would be my final answer. I cannot combine anything because those are not like terms, so that question is complete. So another thing that you might be asked to do is to find f of -3 plus f of 1, okay? So I know it's the f function, so that's what I keep. So I put an equal sign and I start to substitute. So the first thing we're going to do is substitute in f of -3. So I put it in here and I put it in here. So I have -3 quantity squared plus 2 times -3, and then I'm going to add 1. Now, this plus sign right here is also going to go right here. So all of that first is what f of -3 is. So beyond the plus sign, we are going to figure out what f of 1 is. So I plug that in, and I have 1 squared plus 2 times 1 plus 1. And everything past that is what f of 1 is. So then we're back to order of operations. So I have 9 minus 6 plus 1 plus 1 squared is 1 plus 2 plus 1. So it's just a whole bunch of addition and subtraction. So I have 9 minus 6 would be 3, plus 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7, plus 1 is the number 8. So they can make it so that you're doing 2 or 3 things at once. All right, another thing that they can do to make this a little more complicated is to not have a plus sign in there, but to put a minus sign. So we're going to redo this question, but with a minus sign. And these minus signs are very important because everything beyond that negative sign right there is going to require that we have a parenthesis after that. That parenthesis is of the utmost importance. It's not so much when it is the just the subtraction and it's numeric, but if it has variables in it, that's going to change everything. So be very careful with this. So at this point, we are still doing the same thing that we were doing. So we have 9 minus 6 plus 1. And then we know that this number in here is 1 plus 2 plus 1. So this is the number 4. So then we subtract 4. So we have 3 plus 1 is 4 minus 4, which gives us a final answer of 0. And that's what you would type in online.
All right. The difference quotient is a brand new concept. You have never heard of this before. All right. This right here is the difference quotient. Okay. That whole fraction is going to be your difference quotient. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of these and find a pattern of how to do this. So with these, you're going to have to be given an f of x value. So this first one, we have 3x plus 4. So the next thing I want to do, my very first step right here, this is standing for step 1, is to find f of x plus h. So what that means is I'm going to put x plus h, it's in this location, so I'm going to plug it into that function where this x is. So the 3 is there. X is substituted as x plus h, and then plus 4. And then we distribute this, so we have 3x plus 3h plus 4. Now here's where this can confuse some children. This is the value for f of x plus h. All right, that whole thing is f of x plus h. So when we come down here, what we're looking at is f of x plus h. Well, that's what we just found. Okay, so we're going to substitute that in first. We have 3x plus 3h plus 4. Okay, then we're next at this subtraction sign. So that's what goes in next is another subtraction sign because we are simply stating that we have that subtraction matches this subtraction. And just like in that last example that we did, you have to put a parenthesis after that. Now, when I'm looking at f of x, then I am looking back at the beginning of my problem. And at the beginning of my problem, I was told that f of x was 3x plus 4. So 3x plus 4 is equivalent to f of x. So I'm going to have 3x plus 4 here because that is the value of f of x. And then it has a denominator of h. And once we write that out, so this first part is the f of x plus h. This is f of x plus h. This is f of x that we were given at the very beginning. And then the subtraction and the h are already part of it. So now we simplify. So we have 3x plus 3h plus 4. And then I'm subtracting. So this means I have to distribute a negative 1. Okay, so I have negative 3x minus 4. And then don't forget your denominator. And then nice things are going to happen every time you do these. I have a 3x here minus 3x here. I have a 4 here, and I have a negative 4 here. So what's left in the top is just 3h, and what's left in the bottom is an h. All right, and then h divided by h is just the number 1, so this boils down to a final answer of just the number 3. So we're going to practice at a couple more of these. In your homework sets, you're going to see something called the difference quotient. Sometimes they'll have it written, which is f of x plus h minus f of x, and that whole thing is divided by h, or it will just say evaluate the difference quotient. So what it means when it says that is that you are actually going to do f of x plus h, and then subtract f of x, and then divide it by h. When they ask you to do these questions, the first thing they have to do is tell you what f of x is. All right, so this f of x that I'm given here is 3x plus 4. So the next thing I need to come up with is f of x plus h. So what I'm going to do is replace x's in the original with x plus h to find f of x plus h. So the 3 stays and the 4 stays, and instead of x, we are substituting in x plus h. And then I distribute the 3, so I have 3x plus 3h plus 4. And that's what f of x plus h is equal to. So then we come down another line on our work, and we write down f of x plus h. And f of x plus h is actually minus f of x, and you divide the whole thing by h. This, again, is the difference quotient. So f of x plus h, this entire set right here, is what you found in this step. So all of that is written first. So you have 3x plus 3h plus 4. And then we have this negative sign right here. So we're going to put that negative sign right here. And in exactly the same way as before, because we have a negative sign, we're going to have to use a parenthesis. Now, for the f of x, this part, this is the function that we started with, just the f of x that we started with originally. So that's what goes inside the parenthesis set. And then we divide that whole thing by h. So we keep the first, we have 3x plus 3h plus 4. And then we distribute this negative to both of these terms. So I have negative 3x minus 4. And then that whole thing is still divided by h. And then we have nice things that happen because your 3x minus 3x is gone. And then you have 4 minus 4 is gone. So what you're left with is 3h divided by h. And we know that h divided by h is just 1. And then 3 times 1 is the number 3. Now, these will not always have numeric answers. You could also potentially have variables in there. So we're going to do one more that works very much like this one, and then one where it's a little bit different. So the next one says to find the difference quotient of f of x is equal to 5x minus 3. So what we're going to do is find f of x plus h. And again, what that means is I'm going to take x plus h is in this location, and that means it has to go right there. It is multiplied by the number 5. So I keep the 5, I substitute in x plus h, and then I subtract 3. So then I'm going to take my 5 and distribute. So I have 5x plus 5h minus 3. And this is what f of x plus h is. So the difference quotient is f of x plus h minus f of x, and I'm going to divide that by h. So I'm going to underline it this time instead of highlighting. This is f of x plus h. So that's the first thing that we're going to substitute in. 5x plus 5h minus 3. And then I have this subtraction sign, so we're going to have that subtraction sign is right there. And then we open a parenthesis set. Now, f of x is 5x minus 3. So that's what goes in beyond the subtraction sign. And then we still have this division by h right here. So we distribute the circled negative sign. So we have 5x plus 5h minus 3. I'm going to distribute a negative 1 here, and I'm going to distribute a negative 1 to negative 3. So I have negative 5x plus 3, and we're going to divide that by h. And then again, you're always going to have that things are going to cancel. So I have a 5x and a negative 5x. I have a negative 3 and a positive 3. So I'm left with 5h divided by h. And I know that h divides itself and becomes a 1. So that's 5 times 1, which gives me a 5. Now, both of those ended up just having number answers. That's not always the case. So we're going to do one more where that doesn't happen.
So again, this one is telling us to find the difference quotient if f of x is equal to 5x minus 3. So the first thing we're going to do is find out what f of x plus h is. And again, this is where we're going to take this x plus h and we're going to plug it in where that x is. So in doing that, we will have 5, and then instead of the x, we are substituting in x plus h, and then we subtract the 3. So to finish this, to figure out what f of x plus h is, we have to distribute the 5. So we have 5x plus 5h minus 3. So this is what f of x plus h is. At that point, we have everything we need to find the difference quotient. So this is f of x plus h minus f of x, and we're going to divide that by h. So f of x plus h is what we found when we evaluated this. So that's what goes first in my numerator. So we have 5x plus 5h minus 3. And then we're going to have this subtraction symbol. We'll go here. And because we have a subtraction symbol, then we open up a parenthesis set. Now, in order to look at f of x, we go back to the original equation it gave us. F of x is 5x minus 3. So that's what will go here. And then we divide by h. So again, we have this negative symbol that we have to, it's negative 1. So we have 5x plus 5h minus 3. And then we have negative 5x. And then if I have a negative 1 times a negative 3, that'll give me a positive 3. And then the whole thing is divided by h. And as is most of the time going to be the case, you will have some things that cancel out. So I have 5x minus 5x, those are 0. Negative 3 plus 3, so those are 0. So I'm left with 5h divided by h. And when you divide h by h, you get 1. So your final answer for this question will be the number 5.
All right, and we're getting a little more complicated because this time I have an exponent that's bigger than 1. So again, the first thing I'm going to do is find f of x plus h. So again, I have x plus h is in this location. So I have to plug this in here, and this time I have another place to plug it in. So I have the 4 is going to stay x squared, but my x is not x, it's x plus h. Then I have plus 2 x, but my x again is x plus h. So when I have a quantity that's squared, we have to write that down twice and box it or FOIL it, whichever way you understand. And then we are going to distribute this 2. So I have plus 2x plus 2h. So over to the side, we will be multiplying x plus h times x plus h. So we have x squared, and then I have always taught children to put letters in alphabetical order. So hx, and then hx, and then h squared. So this is going to give me x squared plus 2hx plus h squared. And then we still have the remainder of the problem. So then we distribute our 4, so we have 4x squared plus 8hx plus 4h squared plus 2x plus h, 2h, excuse me. And then we're looking to see if there's anything we can combine, and there is not. But this entire 5 terms is what f of x plus h is. So to do the difference quotient, we will be doing f of x plus h minus f of x, and we're going to put that over h. So this f of x plus h is all 4 of those terms. So that's the first thing that goes here. We have 4x squared plus 8hx plus 4h squared plus 2x plus 2h. And then we have the minus sign. So we're going to put the minus sign, and we know that when we do that, we have to include a parenthesis. And then we are looking at f of x. So f of x was what we started with. So that's what goes in next. We have 4x squared plus 2x. And that concludes the top. So then all of that goes over h. So we have 4x squared plus 8hx plus 4h squared plus 2x plus 2h, and then we distribute this negative to every term beyond it. So minus 4x squared plus 2x, and don't forget your denominator, it's still there as an h. And at this point again, you have nice things that'll happen. You have 4x squareds will cancel, and then I forgot my negative sign. My apologies for that mistake. That should have been a minus sign. And then your 2x and negative 2x will cancel. So we have 8hx plus 4h squared plus 2h, and we're dividing that by h. So at that point, what we want to do is factor the GCF out of the top. Only the h's, because that's the only thing that's going to cancel in the bottom. So we will have inside 8x, we have 4h, and we have a 2. So then at that point we know that h's divide to a 1, so we have the final answer is 8x plus 4h plus 2. And that's what you would type in online. So this concludes the notes portion. I have followed the online homework to try to make sure that you've seen at least one of every type of question except for the matching. So you can now begin your homework after you make sure that you have copied these notes adequately. And I'm here for questions if you have them. The thing that's going to make the difference quotient even more complicated to compute is if you have things that are multiple exponents. Everything that we've done so far has been an exponent of 1. So with this one, we have an x squared, and also we have 2 different x's. So I'm still going to start this the exact same way. So I do f of x plus h. And again, I'm plugging x plus h in everywhere I see an x. So I have a 4. I substitute in x plus h, and I square that. And then I have the plus 2. And then instead of the x, I'm substituting in x plus h. So this is going to take us a couple more minutes because we have to write down x plus h twice. And from here, you've got a couple different ways you can do this. Most students that I've had will take the x plus h, and you can box or FOIL that, whichever one you understand is perfectly fine with me. So as I multiply this out, x times x is x squared. When I'm doing multiple variables, I always tell kids to put them in alphabetical order. So x times h is hx. And then I go x times h again, which is hx. And then h times h is h squared. So I'm going to keep my 4 out front. As I look at what I get when I multiply that out, I have x squared plus 2hx plus h squared. And then over here, we're going to distribute the 2 to both of these.
So we have plus 2x plus 2h. And then we distribute the 4 into the first one. So I have 4x squared plus 8hx plus 4h squared plus 2x plus 2h. So that line is what f of x plus h is equal to. Now, it's up to you whether you write f of x plus h on all of those lines, but understand that that's what you have computed. So now we're up to the point where we're ready to do the difference quotient. So this is f of x plus h, which is what we just found, minus f of x, which is the first one that we were given, and we're going to divide that by h. So this is going to take some space. If you write very largely, you might have to use double lines for this. But if you are aware of how long it's going to be, just write a little smaller. All right, so we have 4x squared plus 8hx plus 4h squared plus 2x plus 2h. All right, that's just f of x plus h from here. All right, then we've got the subtraction symbol. So we're going to put our subtraction here and open a parenthesis, just like always. And then f of x, oh, sorry about that, is what we started with up here. So that's what goes in the parenthesis set. So we're going to have 4x squared, 4x squared plus 2x, and we're going to divide that whole thing by h. So we take this negative symbol and we distribute that to what's inside. So we have 4x squared plus 8hx plus 4h squared plus 2x plus 2h minus 4x squared minus 2x. And don't forget your denominator, there's still an h down there. And again, just like with the others, just because we've made it more complicated, the same thing is going to be happening. So I have 4x squared here, and I'm subtracting 4x squared, so those cancel. And then I have a 2x here, and I have negative 2x there, so those cancel. So this is one where we're just going to have more terms left after we do that simplification. So we write down the 3 terms that are left in the top, and it's divided by h. Now, from this point forward, the only thing that you're looking for is to see if you have an h in common to all the terms in the top, and we do, so we factor that out. So we factor an h out, so that leaves us with 8x plus 4h plus 2, and we're dividing that by h. So those h's cancel to a 1, so my final answer is 8x plus 4h plus 2. And that's what you would type in on My Open Math. Now, as you've looked through this video and you've copied these examples down so that you know better how to do your homework, this is the exact type of thing that you have to turn in to me when it comes to the homework day, or homework turn-in day on the quiz days. So make sure that they are in order. Homework must be in order. They must be numbered. They must have work shown. And it has to be legible. If I cannot read it, I will take your points away or ask you to redo it. So be very careful as you're doing homework that you do all of these things. And if you have any questions ever, you come to my room and ask me.